Welcome back. I was just thinking about how quickly you're learning T-SQL. There's just a little bit left before you have basic querying down. There are a few things left to do before we start getting into more advanced topics, though. The next thing you're going to need to know is how to order your data. Notice that I didn't say sort your data. There's a difference. Sorting is where you physically rearrange the data on your disk. Ordering is when you display the data in a particular order without changing the original data. Sorting will come later. Ordering is what we're looking at now. And you do that ordering by using the order by clause. So let's look at this query. It's pretty straightforward. The only thing that's new here is that we aren't querying from a table. We're querying from a view. At this point, there isn't any real difference between a view and a table. As we get into some more advanced topics, we will see some important differences, and you'll even learn how to create views and tables. But that isn't for a while yet. When I execute the query, we get back 10 rows. And in what order they appear to be arranged? Well, it looks like they're arranged according to this employee ID column and in ascending order. In other words, the lowest number to the highest number. But what if we don't want that? What if we want it ordered by, I don't know, say territory name? What if we want that right there to be our sorter? In order to accomplish that, we just simply add this to the end. Notice I'm going to take care of my semicolon here. And I will type in order by territory name. When I execute that, the output is now ordered according to that column. Once again, nothing we're doing here is changing the actual data. It's just the order in which the data is returned. Let's try something else. I'm going to remove the where clause so that we return all of the records. I'll execute it, and now I have 17 records. And notice that 7 of the records are not North America. I could count them up, but I could also see that 7 more records were added, and so those were the extras from the where clause. And notice that it's still ordered by territory name, which we've aliased as region. So it's ordered alphabetically from Australia through United Kingdom. But I want to order by 2 columns now. So I'm going to say order by territory name, true, but I'm going to first order by territory group. So all I did was order by 1 column and then another, separated by commas. Let's execute this and pay attention to what happens. It ordered the result set first by territory group, so that my Europes are together, my North Americas are together, and my Pacifics are together. And then within each group, within Europe, according to alphabetic order of the region. Within North America, alphabetically. Within the Pacific, well, there's just one within the Pacific. Don't worry too much about these records that have nulls in them. We're going to spend some time in a future video talking about nulls. For now, just want you to ignore them. Okay, so the sort order is alphabetic, and so Europe comes before North America, obviously. We call that ascending or ascending order. And you can specify that by adding this ASC when I execute it, there's no change in the output. What I'm doing is I'm telling it to do what it would by default do anyway. So while you certainly can put that in there, it isn't necessary. I put it in there so that if you happen to run into that in a query someone else wrote, you'll understand what they're doing. Now, if you want to reverse that, you can tell this data to sort in descending order by adding DESC. And now, when I execute it, instead of Europe coming on top, Pacific will come on top, and it's reversed. To take that even a little bit further, since we have two columns, we can sort each of them independently. So right now we're sorting territory group in a descending order, and territory name is ascending, the default. And we can adjust ascending versus descending order for each of the columns independently, like this. I could make territory group ascending and territory name descending. And now notice our territory group is alphabetically ascending, Europe to North America to Pacific, but within each territory group, they are ordered in a descending manner for the region or the territory name. United Kingdom, Germany, France, etc. When we talked about the where clause, I mentioned that you can filter by a column that's not in the select list. The same principle applies to the order by clause. You can order by a column even though you don't select it. The problem is that the order appears to be random. For example, this view has a column called postal code. And even though we're not retrieving that column, we can order by it. So let's change the code to, first of all, use the postal code in the order by statement. So I'm going to get rid of these, and I'm going to have it order by postal code. If I execute that query, it returns the data perfectly right, and it's perfectly valid, and it is ordered according to postal code. But since we don't list postal code, it doesn't appear to have any sort order. Now that's fine, but it might confuse people. So you might consider whether it's an appropriate thing to do to sort by, or order by rather, a column that's not in your select list. And you can do it just fine. Just keep in mind that it might have some drawbacks. Finally, we've been ordering the records using alphabetic columns, but you can sort by any column, any kind of column at all. You could order by any of the numeric columns, such as sales last year, or whatever you wanted to, any of the columns. You could also order by date. Now, unfortunately, in this view, there aren't any date columns. So let's look at a different query. Let's look at a table called Production.Product Review. Let me just select from it. Very few columns, or very few records rather, just 4 of them. But you'll notice that there is a review date column. And notice the way it's laid out and formatted. It's according to year, then month, then date, followed by hours, minutes, seconds, and nanoseconds. We probably don't care about the time, and it's just listed as 0. What we're really interested in is the date. So if I order this, right now it's not ordered according to the review date, it's ordered according to the product review ID. So let's add an order by clause. So we'll order it by review date. And when I execute it, since it will be an ascending date, it's going to order so that the oldest date is on top. Obviously, I can reverse that. And now the youngest, or the most recent, will be on top. Okay, now for some practice. Like last time, I'll give you 2 exercises. The first one is the straightforward one, where I help you out a bit. For this query, I want you to retrieve columns from the Production.Product table. So once again, you'll make sure that you focus on AdventureWorks. And you're going to select from a table called Production.Product. And the columns I want you to select are name, color, product number, list price, and I'm going to alias that as price. The standard cost column, which will alias as cost, and finally the weight column. So those are the columns I want you to use, and you can use other aliases as you feel, whatever you want to do. But I'd like you to filter that record by only returning records where the make flag column is 1. The make flag column is a column that will either be a 1 or a 0. 1 if we need to produce some, and a 0 if we don't. And now I want you to order it by the product number. I'll go ahead and put these column names in the description. And then I'll have you write this query. It's kind of written for you. It's roughed out at least. And you need to order it, order the list according to product number here. All right. The second practice thing I'd like you to do is the challenge. Here I'm going to give you the rough instructions, and I'm not going to help you much at all. I want you to select from a table called HumanResources.Employee. want you to select the following columns: login ID, job title, birth date, vacation hours, and sick leave hours. I want you to alias them appropriately, and I only want you to return the people who are not salaried. I'll give you one little hint here. That, whether or not they're salaried, is defined by a column called salaried flag. So only return those people who are not salaried, or in other words, who are hourly. And I want the query to list the employees ordered by their age, with the youngest first. So you'll have to figure out, there are a couple of things in there that might throw you for a loop. But I want you to go ahead and list that for me, and that will be your challenge exercise. Hey, I hope this was really good for you. I hope you learned about the order by clause. I hope that you're feeling a little more cemented into understanding what's all going on in a T-SQL query. You made great progress. Next time we get together, we're going to talk about the group by clause and how you can start to not just order them, but group them, put them into different groups. It'll take a little explanation, but once you see it, I think it will be a lot more clear. Hey, happy practicing. And as always, if you have questions, you know what to do. Comments, email, Twitter. I'll be glad to help you with any of those things or over any of those mediums. Thanks for paying attention and watching this video from the recalcitrant DBA. You know the drill. Subscribe and get notifications. And I will see you again next time in the next video. Until then, be good and write good queries.